Polly Sattler has a master's in environmental and resource policy from George Washington University in DC. She is senior sustainability planner for Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. Ms. Sattler is updating the airport's 2035 Sustainable Management Plan and working to update the airport's ISO 5001 certification. She's also working with Delta Airlines on EV charging infrastructure to allow conversion of diesel ground service equipment to electric. She manages the airport's employee commuter program, implementing the green infrastructure policy, and developing a green purchasing plan. Polly recently initiated the launch of a Change the Course program for the airport, which will restore water to the Flint River and other watersheds around the country. She serves on the Flint Riverkeeper Board and the Georgia Solar Energy Association Board.
It is really amazing to be on this panel with such inspiring people. So I'm glad to be telling the airport story. After COVID, we're a little bit at a restart. And so the timing of things is really pretty amazing for us to galvanize all the work that we're doing and be able to really implement our goals and achieving our goals. One of the things that we're doing right now is we are reestablishing our 2035 Sustainable Management Plan. And so we're going back through and looking at what did we achieve before, where are we now, what's going to be next, and how are we going to achieve those goals. And of course, energy and greenhouse gas emissions and the waste, as well as the water, all are impacted around the food. And we have a lot of initiatives around that area and trying to manage our carbon as well as our waste and energy. Also, something else that has happened that's the first time for the airport is the CFO has asked us to do our first environmental, social, and governance report. And I imagine all of you all are familiar with this, but for the most part, that has been corporations that have been doing ESG reports, and it's beginning to make its way into the aviation industry. For us, it's great because it helps us with our transparency. It helps us make the connection for other stakeholders at the airport about the social impacts as well as environmental. When they think sustainability, a lot of the times they think environment, and they don't make the full connection. And so doing an ESG report is really helping motivate and push our work and engage with different divisions across the airport. So it's really been amazing, all the things coming together. Two other things, we are updating our ISO 50001 energy management system. And the benefit of this is it really helps us dig down into the actual energy efficiency updates. What are we going to do? How do we manage our energy? And that includes looking at our waste as well. So we're updating that. And then earlier this spring, Airports Council International set a new goal of net zero by 2050. And so that goes beyond what the city has put into place. And so all of these things are really helping us put the stepping stones into place to get us where we want to go. So what guides our work? There are all these external factors, and something, side note, a lot of people are always like, why don't you do solar at the airport? And it's like, well, because there are FAA regulations around that, and we have to manage glare. And I don't know if people know, but the airport has 7 different jurisdictions that have a say in how we operate. So there are a lot of people that are engaged and stakeholders and have a say in how we do things. One of the biggest, however, in addition to the FAA, is the City of Atlanta. And the ordinances and the resolutions that have been passed by the City Council have really helped us leverage the work that we want to do. The first is the Sustainable Development Ordinance, which requires achieving LEED Silver for new construction. And then going forward, it's going to require EBOM certification, the existing buildings, operations, and maintenance, which is really, once the buildings are built, the EBOM helps the management and the day-to-day running of the buildings, which again is going to be moving us in the right direction. The big one is the 100% clean and renewable energy, and then the plastics ban ordinance that started in January of 21. So there are more ordinances, but relative to the food, these are the pieces that most impact it. So the Atlanta airport was the first airport to do a sustainable food court initiative. In 2011, we put this into the contracts, and it requires the concessionaires to use biodegradable takeout materials as they are providing, food to people coming through the food courts. And then on top of that, with the city's ordinance, which was a plastic bag ban, that has helped us take our program one step further. So the goal of the Sustainable Food Court Initiative is, of course, bring zero waste initiatives to food courts and develop best practices both back and front of the house. This was all set up to get us in line with something that many of you all have probably heard of, Green Acres, which is going to be a site on the airport that takes all of our waste and composts, and we're looking at anaerobic digestion as well. And so, but we didn't want to have waste that wasn't compostable and able to be turned into energy. And so we set this system up first. And so we've been developing how we manage the waste first. And then as we move forward with Green Acres, which or ATL Energy Park. So with the Sustainable Food Court Initiative, two things have been really important in helping us achieve success that we have had, is that we have done a lot of education with the concessionaires. This is all has been new to a lot of these concessionaires. It's not the way they were necessarily thinking about doing business. And so we've been able to engage them, provide them with product information, make the connections for them. And so they've been able to find the kind of products that they need. We had a whole session just on straws. So, it's a process. And then we've also been doing waste audits. There are over 300 concessionaires at the airport. That's not all just food, but they are providing, to-go materials, a lot of them. So as a part of the waste audit, we literally went out and looked at the waste, did evaluation, calculated what the waste was, where it was going, where we were having successes and failures. And we had a pretty good response in regard to the plastic ban and the concessionaires achieving the Sustainable Food Court Initiative. So that is helping us get moving. Of course, our partnership with Gooder for our food recovery. We started a pilot 2018 to 2019. There were 20 concessionaires. It's floated. It's been different numbers throughout the program. But through that, we diverted more than 200,000 pounds of food, created almost 181,000 meals, reduced our emissions by 167,490 pounds. And the tax benefit went to the concessionaires was valued at 406,000. And we were able to support 18 different organizations and charities through this program. Our next goal and step is to engage all restaurants. And so that is going to be the next phase for us. We want 100% participation at the airport. So just the waste, the airport recycles about 13,000 tons of material annually. And we recycle over 24 different materials. We do some clothing recycling, the paper, plastics, e-waste, concrete, batteries. So there's a lot going on. And we plan to launch a back of the house composting pilot within the next year or two. So we are moving forward with that.